Hey listeners, this past October 10th, we hosted a live stream called Create a Change, and it was an absolute powerful time sharing inspirational and practical insights to equip you to no longer wait for one day, but to take one step today. Today's episode is going to be sharing one segment from the live stream. If you would like to gain access to the full unedited version of the live stream, you could go ahead and visit onesteppodcast.com/create. I know it will add value to you, and I hope you enjoy.
And I remember as a wedding gift, I was probably doing this for like 4 or 5 months. I told them, hey, if you don't have a videographer, I would love to do your wedding for free. And they were blown away by the quality of the edit. And again, this is me borrowing gear from friends, and it's not high-end gear. Like if I told a wedding videographer what I was using, they would say, yeah, that should have been free. Actually, you should have paid them for the opportunity to do that with that gear. But no one who I was making the video for knew what I was using or knew anything about it.
Well, hey, friends, family, welcome to the Create a Change live stream. This is a live episode of the One Step podcast, and man, we are so glad that you are here today. If we haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Jonathan. I actually currently host the One Step podcast. In case you missed it, today's my birthday, and we're going to be celebrating with a fun time. But man, today is going to be way bigger than just a celebration. The whole point of this podcast, the whole point of this live stream is to encourage you to no longer wait for one day, but to take one step to create a change. I hope that by the time you leave this conversation, that you will not only be inspired, but equipped to take one step to create a change in your life and also make a contribution when it comes to adding value to others through content, through social media, and so forth. With our first guest, I don't think I could do justice by giving him an introduction. If the historical King Solomon had extra time to write some proverbs, he would say that if you did not know Brandon, you would be a fool. See, Brandon is the definition of being wise. Like, he has it in his own name. Listen, he is a YouTuber. He's also made a transition into being a full-time photographer and videographer. He's a personal friend and such a great friend for this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for our friend, Brandon Wise.
That introduction is a little, gives me a little too much credit, but I'll take it.
No, Brandon, it's awesome having you. Thank you so much for making the time being here today. I know we had several conversations, and I know you are a busy man. You have a lot going on, not only with your craft, but also being a family man, raising 2 beautiful girls, being an amazing husband, and so forth. And just for you to make the time for being here tonight, it's absolutely wonderful. I'm definitely super grateful.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. I first want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's a good day when it's your birthday.
It definitely
Also,
is.
I'm happy you brought up my kids, just in case. If anyone small, less than 4 feet, walks up behind me, then you guys understand. You guys understand.
Exactly. No worries. This is going to be a fun time, and we're definitely grateful for what you have to share with us tonight. But that being said, I'd love to go ahead and ask if you could just go ahead and open this up. Let us know a little bit more about yourself, who you are, your background, and all the advice and tips that you would love to go ahead and share with us.
Cool. I am nobody special. I know I had an amazing introduction, but I feel like I'm just a guy who really likes to tell stories. More so than anything else, I like to tell the stories of other people. I just really enjoy creating and telling stories. I do have a small YouTube channel talking mostly about how to create those stories, how you don't need the best camera in the world. You don't need the best audio system, the best lighting. However, once you get into it, you may want that stuff, but that's not going to make your story any better or worse. Just the act of telling the story is probably the most important thing. So you can start with just a headphone, microphone, and your iPhone for video. If you really want to get started telling stories, I really believe that it's the content of the story that really means everything. you know?
Absolutely. I know your channel has been such a resource for me, particularly. In case anybody wasn't aware, this podcast is a relatively new thing. I just launched it in late June. And just prior to that, that's when I made an announcement of going to be running the New York Marathon fundraising for Charity Water. And I didn't have the special equipment that we see many YouTubers have. All I really had was my iPhone, this dynamic mic that I have with me. And I totally broke all the audio rules. See, with this dynamic mic, you're supposed to have it close to your mouth so that everybody can hear you well. Well, I didn't have the opportunity to go ahead and have it close to my mouth for this first initial announcement video. And so I boomed it up. And I just worked with what I had and made the most of it. But with Brandon's channel, I just learned everything I could. And it was absolutely helpful in order to make the most out of it and start from there, to start with what I have with one of my hands. But I'd love to go ahead and ask even further, Brandon, if you could just walk us through how you even ended up to where you are today, specifically when it comes to photography, videography. What did that journey look like?
Well, I would say before I even go deep into it, because the story is going to have a lot of like twists and turns. And it's mostly because just like what you said, with you didn't have the right equipment, so you had to boom the microphone. I feel like that's step one for being a creative. You know, like the first thing you have to be good at is being flexible with change and being able to adjust when you need to, you know. So long story short, got married, immediately had our first daughter, right? Wow. So, and by immediately, I mean, by our 1 year anniversary, Sophia was born. But I still wanted to play video games. You know, now I'm a dad and I'm losing out my gaming. So I thought I can trick my wife into believing I can make money as a gaming YouTuber. And if I can make this happen, then I'm golden. I can just play games all I want. And that's how everything began. And then I fell in love with editing. So then I didn't want to play games as much as I wanted to edit. And that kind of created the snowball effect for me to really roll into learning how to edit videos. And then it's like, okay, I need videos to edit. So let me see if I can borrow someone's camera. And I started borrowing people's camera, and I would just go to a downtown area near my house and just film stuff. And then I would edit it all together. And I remember as a wedding gift, I was probably doing this for like 4 or 5 months. And as a wedding gift for this couple, it was a friend of ours. I told him, it's like, hey, if you don't have a videographer, I would love to do your wedding for free. I don't, you know, if you have somebody, you need to pay them. They're going to do a better job, but let me do it. And they were blown away by the quality of the edit. And again, this is me borrowing gear from friends, and it's not high-end gear. Like if I told a wedding videographer what I was using, they would say, yeah, that should have been free. Actually, you should have paid them for the opportunity to do that with that gear. But no one who I was making the video for knew what I was using or knew anything about it. But the end product left tears in eyes. Wow. And that goes back to like what I was saying before. I think above everything, the story that you're telling means everything. So you can kind of get around some of the issues of not having the best equipment, not having the best mic. Now, sometimes I do want to say and preface that stuff can get in the way of you telling your story. So if it's getting in the way, then yeah, you may want to upgrade your stuff. But in the beginning, just tell good stories. Yeah, that's absolutely powerful. As far as telling good stories, I think that's going to be the crux of your story, that throughout your different chapters, overall, you are a great storyteller. I could imagine that this could be a pivotal piece of advice and tips for everyone who is viewing and listening in. Because I would imagine that some people are probably listening and thinking, well, you know, that's great, Brandon. I'm not a creative, but I'm looking to make a different change in my life and looking to make a start in my career, whether in real estate or in music and so forth. And yet you were someone who started out with what you had, created different stories, and grew in the process. What were resources or tips that you picked up along the way that really helped you along the journey? Well, I think the biggest resource obviously is YouTube, clearly. I think the thing that stuck out to me the most, I started reading a lot of books on just how to prioritize my day, because a lot of times I'm very scatterbrained, so I'm all over the place. And I would get a desire to do something, but I also have a desire to do something else. So I think one of the biggest things, and like you said, you may not be a creative. I feel like everyone's creative in their own right. I could go on for hours about that. No matter what it is that you're going to do, you're going to do real estate. There's creative ways to market a place. You're going to be a chef. There's creative ways to cook a dish. No matter what you're doing, everything involves creativity. So I feel like no one's allowed to say they're not creative, because I used to say that a lot. And now I get roasted for saying, I don't know if I'm creative. But I think prioritizing what you want to do, because it's hard to go all in when you feel like you have other things that you need to do. So being very strategic with your time and making sure when you do have, let's say you have an hour a day and you've never done real estate before, but you have an hour a day to just go all in and learn about doing real estate, then you make that hour a day every day. And this is your day that you just go all in crazy. Because for me, like you mentioned, I have 2 little girls. I was working a full-time job, but I still found I never picked up a camera before this. And mind you, this was like 4 years ago. This is not that long ago. And I had never picked up a camera before, but I knew I had between the times of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. to figure stuff out before I'm too tired to go to work the next day.
Goodness.
And I would spend that time watching YouTube videos, reading books, or playing around with a camera to figure it out. And now I'm working in the film industry. You know, it's like, and people are like, how'd you learn this so fast, man? You're so good at this. It's like, no, I did not learn this fast, because if I did, I wouldn't have spent so many long hours staying up trying to learn this thing. And I think one other key thing is don't be afraid of failure, kind of embrace it. If you're doing something, you're kind of getting new into it, failure is inevitable, right? You're going to fail. You're going to land flat on your face.
Wow.
But those moments, you have to just kind of embrace that moment. And it's cool to have people like you, Jonathan, who are constantly there to encourage you. So in addition to being able to embrace failure, you still do want to have people behind you, like kind of rooting for you, you know?
Yeah. That definitely hits home. We actually have a few of my friends, Mario, Isaiah, and Alicia, and Rob, some of my closest friends. And for me, particularly when it comes to this podcast and this live stream, or exactly that, voices of encouragement when I needed it the most. Because I'll tell you what, there are definitely moments where I wanted to give up. But as you said, Brandon, man, how powerful it is to have people in your corner who are encouraging you, cheering you on, when you're in the rut thinking that you can't make it, the people who are there
Absolutely.
to encourage you to make it through. And as I've been interviewing different people for this podcast, that's been one common thread. As you were sharing your story, obviously in a 20-minute segment, it sounds like it was an overnight success. You spoke about working through failure, dedicating time, and so forth. I would love to ask, were there any tips of advice that anyone gave you when it comes to working through the process, working through the long haul journey?
I wish I could say someone gave me a tip about that, but I'm a very process-oriented person. I love to dissect people's processes all the time. I've told you before that I'm thinking about making a podcast, and I'm not going to do it. I'm so proud of you for doing it, because I keep saying I'm going to, and I'm not going to. But my podcast would essentially be talking to creatives and having them break down to me their process. And I think actually that would be something I would encourage everyone to do. And like you said, in many different areas. So if you want to be a teacher, get around some teachers and try to dissect how they do it. Not to copy, but just to kind of see what fits your groove and what doesn't. And that's why you got to interview like multiple people, or just look for multiple people who do it, so that you can kind of find your niche, if you will. I think it's kind of hard to know exactly. Like for me, for instance, with the videography and the storytelling that I like to do, it's hard for me to know what type of videographer I am or how I like to tell stories before I do it and before I watch other stories. You know what I mean? So if I'm watching some movies, I could see, oh, I like this, I like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. But if I never watch movies and I never tell a story,
wow,
then I'm just going to kind of be stuck at a place where I don't know what to do, you know? So I feel like just kind of seeing other people's process is one of the best things that I've done in the course of time. Like I will bug people to learn like every nook and cranny about like how they work around different things and things like that, because I think it's very helpful.
That's really good. I would love to ask one final question for you, Brandon. Obviously the name of this podcast is called One Step. I'm curious to hear whether this is one step that you're currently taking for yourself right now, or what is one step that you would encourage listeners and viewers to take in their current process?
I would say the one step that I would encourage any and everyone to take is whatever your comfort level is with whatever it is that you're doing, be open enough to share that with somebody. It could be somebody close. It could be somebody you don't know, but they're going to be able to follow up with you and be like, hey, how's this thing going? Just sharing that. Like your one step could be, I don't want to say a specific thing because your one step could be anything, but whatever that next step is, you're sharing that with someone who can hold you accountable, if you will, So we can use the real estate thing again. Like, hey, your one step can be, I'm going to take the real estate exam. And you share that with someone who you know is going to be like, hey, how's your studying going? Stuff like that. Because I feel like that will then get the person in your corner that you need. Because then you can do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Once you have one, all you need is one person. All you need is one person. And you'll be kind of amazed at how much you can do with the encouragement of at least one person.
Yeah. That's so good. That is so helpful. There's just so much to unpack from that conversation. And I mean, there's a lot to digest from it. But thank you so much, Brandon, for just taking the time to just share out of your own story, to share such helpful advice, especially for creatives and people who are looking to make a change in their career in a new direction. And we're definitely better for it.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. I'm just happy to be invited to your birthday party. Couldn't find a better place to be. So right in front of my computer with all my lights. If you saw how much lighting I did to set this up, it's way more than I would need to do anything else. But, it's your birthday, so I go all out.
I appreciate it, Brandon. I appreciate it, man. I have so much love for you, and I'm definitely thankful that you are here. Well, hey, friends, there is so much to digest from this conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. As I mentioned, we are celebrating my birthday. If you found value in this at all, I would love for you to be a partner to contribute towards this fundraiser for Charity Water. An easy link that you can visit is onesteppodcast.com/Charity Water. And that'll redirect you to a specific page in Charity Water's page. In light of this stream, create a change. This is an opportunity where we can all take one step and make an impact together. With that being said, thank you all so much, and I'm definitely looking forward to the impact we are going to make together. Much love, y'all. Take care.